Paige Kavari. I'm a realtor down here in South Florida. I live in Palm Beach County. And here are some things that really surprised me if you're considering moving a horse from up north down to Palm Beach County. So I came from Colorado. One of the things that's gonna surprise you is the cost of board. So the cost of board is substantially higher than, like, for instance, where I was from, Colorado, you could get all-inclusive board for $800 a month. That is not a thing in our county. So what I found is that hay prices are so expensive down here. There's not really a lot of quality hay, so they have a lot of shipping costs associated with it, and you can't store it for multiple years because of the humidity here. So there's a lot of hay moving around all the time. Typically it's delivered every couple weeks. So that was one big surprise to me, is when I took my horse down here, it really ended up costing me roughly $2,000 a month. Another thing that was surprising to me is there's a lot of tiered boarding solutions here. I guess we'll call it that. So some of the barns will say, we'll do dry stall for $500 a month. That means you do everything. Some of the barns will say, like the barn I ride out of right now, I think it's $1,100 a month, and that includes, they will feed the horses but not provide the feed. They will put the shavings in the stall but not provide the shavings. They will feed your horse grain, but they don't provide the grain. And then they maintain the facility. And at that barn, they do go turn the horses out every day, night or day turnout. So that's really nice. But that would be like a hybrid board solution. And a lot of the barns down here do that, unless they're training barns. So the private facilities, a lot of them do that hybrid offering where they'll do the work. But if you have a thoroughbred and it's gonna need, 4 flakes morning and night to keep weight, they're just not gonna do an all-inclusive price for that. And then you do have some all-inclusive pricing down here. These are gonna be substantially more expensive, and some of them I've actually called and just seen if there's something closer to my house, and some of them are up to $3,000, $3,500 a month. And it's the amount of options that are down here. It's pretty crazy. Some of the barns you call ahead and they'll get your horse ready for you. They do your laundry, they'll clean your tack. And all you have to do is show up, ride your horse, and go. So if you have a really busy schedule and you can afford that, then that could be a great solution. But I will say that it was a pretty big shocker coming down here. The hay price differential. So originally we have our own place in Colorado, 80 acres. So we pull our own hay down there. Here, it's been anywhere from like 26 to 30 some dollars a bale. My old horse that I did the mini pre stuff on, he would eat, close to a bale a day. That horse just burned through hay. So he would have been insanely unaffordable to keep here. So if you have a hard keeper, that's definitely a big factor when you come down. If you are expecting the board to be what it was up north, depending on where you came from, you were probably gonna get sticker shock from what you are paying down here. Another thing that was really surprising to me is that in Colorado and these places up north, Pennsylvania, places like that, there's huge fields for turnout. We are pretty built up in Palm Beach County. So say the barn I ride at is 5 acres. I think they have 12, 14 horses, something like that. But each paddock is decently, I would say, like, smaller. There's one okay sized one, but compared to what I was used to, the turnout that you would expect, the facilities just aren't that big. I don't think I've been to any facilities in our county that are really over 25 acres. That would be huge. Most of the facilities, when you go to the Wellington side of things, unless it's the 30 million plus market, are gonna be anywhere from 2 to 7 acres. So the size is a lot different than what I was used to. When I was in Colorado, if I was at a 5 acre facility, we still had all these areas to trail ride out. And then the one barn I was at was over 300 acres. And they had big turnouts and we'd go run our horses through the fields. That's not really a thing here. So if you want to go trail riding, there are some communities that do have trails within them, like white fences. A lot of the Wellington area does have equestrian greenbelt areas where you can go trail riding, but it's not like you would think, like huge fields and open areas to go. So that was a surprise to me. What else was a surprise to me when I got down here? The shoeing was relatively the same. I think right now it's about 130 for front shoes and 60 for a trim. So I did not find that to be completely outrageous in any way. The vibe of the horse people was a little shocking. So there's definitely different types of riders down here. And we also have seasonal riders coming in. So you have because we have the top of the top here, like top of the top, come to South Florida for Winter Equestrian Festival. So you have the very, very serious riders, and then you do have me, that is an amateur rider that just goes and has fun with their friends. But I was also not really used to that in Colorado, and sometimes I'll hear the prices of these horses and I'm like, that's like 4 of my houses. So you just can't be shocked by the prices anymore and what some of these horses are selling for. So yeah, I would say if you're moving from up north, definitely build that into your budget when you are trying to figure out if moving down here is the right choice and how many horses to bring with you. Now, we've also looked at it as buying an equestrian property or facility, because you can still get into an equestrian facility down here for maybe $1.5 million. And there's about 25 options that are under $4 million that are actual facilities. They have stalls, they have arenas, things like that in the county. So you just kind of have to play it out on what your mortgage would be and how many horses you're bringing down. But I will say that I was quite shocked when I brought my horse down here, because I didn't look into it. I mean, I was a broker in Colorado, moved to Palm Beach County about 10 years ago, and I just brought my horse and brought him to the one facility, and I knew it was more expensive, but I had found an affordable facility at the time, and I didn't really look at all the other barns. And once I started calling around, because we had moved barns, yes, I was pretty shell-shocked at hay pricing. The other thing that actually shocked me down here when I moved my horse, this is another thing, is you have a period where your horse needs to settle in. So I came from a very dry environment. If you're moving down here, it's so humid. My horse's feet fell apart, and then they got fine again. But it was like they were just a sponge, because it does rain a lot here. It's hard to keep their feet dry. And the bugs, if you have a horse that starts to get really irritated, getting some swelling on their chest, or they get those big welts from the flies, that will potentially get worse down here. There's a few horses we have to give Benadryl to. But those were some things that really shocked me. Was my horse had a hard time getting used to down here. Once he was used to it, he's fine. Totally fine, but it did take like 2 to 3 months to get through that initial shock for his system. The price point was shocking, but you know, manageable if this is why you're moving down here, if your financial situation allows. And then one of the great things about it is all of the options. If you want to be highly competitive, we have Olympians that are coming down here. We have the best in the world. If you just want to go tool around with your friends, we also have a group of gals that, like, I mean, I'm part of that. We'll just trailer out and get a group of gals together and go to Jupiter Farms, to their arena, or we can go, sometimes like you can go out to Okeechobee. There's some land out there, but there's a ton of places to go trail ride. Fort Pierce, there's trail riding on the beach, so that's really cool. So I wouldn't discourage anybody from moving down here with a horse unless it was completely outside of your budget. But what I would say is it is definitely worth looking into and making sure you have a really solid plan and understanding for what the price is, how your horse's health is going to manage the difference in the climate change, finding a good barn down here with good footing, because there's even like some communities like Calusa. So there, a lot of the places you would just rent a stall and then you would use the facility, because that community actually has an equestrian facility. So it's nice for especially the buyers that don't want to maintain their own facility. Calusa is a really good option. White Fences is also a good option because they have an equestrian facility in the middle. So Calusa has a cross-country course, which I never see down here. Dressage arena, jump field, jump arena. They have a big sand arena, and then they just have miles of trails, signs everywhere that are like, don't you go fast, because there's horses here. So they do take these horse communities very seriously, and it's a conglomerate of people that's their passion, which is really fun. Those are some of my favorite communities to sell in and just to go in, because a lot of times the owners and I are the community, like the residents, we have a lot in common, so we just get to chit-chatting. But yes, so make sure your horse's health is okay. Actually, this is another one. Even if you're coming down for the show, if you're not in an area where the base is sand, you want to make sure you discuss with your vet doing sand clear. So we never really ran into colic, like sand colic in Colorado. Very real thing here, very real thing. The horses are eating off the ground, their stomachs are gonna accumulate the sand, and then it can be a whole big thing. I had a friend from Canada that happened to her, and her horse had to have colic surgery because they weren't giving it sand clear when they brought him down for the show. So if you have any questions on that, or you just want some more insights on it, you're absolutely welcome to call. If you want to know more information about some equestrian communities in the area, I've probably been in it. I can probably give you some insight, and I probably know what's available for sale. Or if you're just looking to board a horse, shoot me a call. I don't board horses, but I know a lot of the barns in the area that do. Everywhere from, if you're going to Martin County, all the way down to like the Delray area, I can probably have a suggestion. But I'm more than willing to be honest with you about it, so that you don't put yourself and your horse in a pickle when you move down. So these are just some things to take into consideration, and let me know if you have any questions. Bye guys.